once again, I'm Dave Derington. I am the Director of User Education, User Enablement at Azuqua, still customer education. I am really thankful that you invited me down, Adam, to join you, because I've wanted to come see how you do things. Now, I am down from Seattle, so love this town, love coming down here. And today, we're going to talk about iPaaS and connecting your education data into the bigger picture, into your ecosystem. How do you get out of a silo, effectively, where you have your learning data? Now, bear with me. I am going to talk about integrations. Stuff does exist already. So let's continue. Let's get into this here. My question for you is, as a customer education professional, how much do you think about the data that's coming in to your learning management system? Just kind of a show of hands. Okay, good. About half of you. Sometimes we don't have to, because ideally our learning management system should handle most of the hard work, the heavy lifting, the things that we need to do from a day-to-day basis, right? So what I'm interested in is thinking beyond like, okay, I built my curriculum, I got all this stuff in place, I put it in my learning management system, and then what, right? That's where, again, we're going to get to like data-driven solutions, but I'm going to talk about how do we start working with that data and getting it into other systems and connecting the fabric of your learning ecosystem, right? Connecting into your company and helping to express visibility, all right? All right, so I've tried to do this Pekakucha style, the 20 minutes and 20 slides. I'm gonna fail. So I've got about 20 slides, but then I wanna demo some stuff. I wanna show you some stuff and get off the slides and onto a product. And I actually have a demo that you can interact with too today. So I hope that'll be fun and eye-opening. All right, so let's continue here. You know this person, right? That's me half the time. I don't have such long hair, but I think about data a lot, right? Data for customer education nerds. I'm a customer education nerd. I love data. I love working with the numbers and crunching them as much as I do presenting to people. And so I said already, we have our respective learning management systems. Sometimes we don't. We're building up to that. What are we going to do, right? We're going to ask for the name of a person, their email address, where they work, their account, all this kind of stuff. And then, all right, what do we do with that? Well, obviously, you want to get into things, and Linda, we were just on a recording a little bit ago, and we were talking about this very much thing. What's your completion rate? How many learners did you have? What content are they looking at? These are all the questions that we have as customer educators, right? And we want to think about outside that ecosystem too, not just about us. Where are we going then? Now, the thing about data is, and I don't know if you've done this, I've built a lot of stuff, and I'll tell you my pain points in my story here. But when you start talking about data, for many of us, it gets scary, right? It gets scary. You have to think about, a database and SQL queries, and I don't want to think about that, but we kind of have to. So let's continue here. So let me tell you my story and how I got involved with many of you in this room. So this is kind of representative of a report that I might generate. At Gainsight, now I work at Azuqua now, but formerly I was at Gainsight. So those of you who have know and love, or not so much, Gainsight, know that it's really fantastic for visualizing information in a way that's relatable to a customer success manager or team. Not just those teams you can get out into marketing and other stuff, but my pain point is that my manager at the time said, Dave, I want to see a report with the business objectives and metrics, and I want to see how you map to them. I want to see how you're doing, what your learners, what your completion, all that stuff I just talked about, right? Now, for me to get that report out, it was not so easy at the time. And I know we work together a lot on this kind of stuff, Jesse, and we were able to like export it and start manipulating and ultimately get it with an integration into Gainsight. And then I could start doing other things. But that wasn't the end of the story, right? I wanted to know things like my completion rates. I want to know how many accounts are in training, all this kind of stuff. Now, my pain point is this, and I'm interested to know if any of you have this similar reporting problem. It took me hours to do this. Hours, right? I download some data from one source and I download some data from another source, right? I go to Salesforce and export my accounts, and then I export my learners and I get them into a database, and it was insane, right? I wanted to automate that. That took me like half a day every week to get this really nice, juicy report that my executive team wanted. I didn't want to do that every day. I'm absolutely not lazy, but I'm lazy when it comes to data. I want my data to go where my data needs to go. I want my data to get in the hands of the people that need to have it, right? I don't waste time. All right, so that's my pain point. I started thinking, is there a better way to action upon and work with and visualize this data that would save me that time? So that was the beginning of the journey. And let's see, I like to start out with outcomes. Now, I know some of you are going to see this and go, yeah, I saw that slide before. This is what we ended up with. We started developing these dashboards in Gainsight that would allow anybody to like start getting answers. What are my outcomes? My outcomes is I want to help increase ARR. Is that causation? Is it correlation? We just had a great talk about that. We keep talking about that. I want to demonstrate ROI for my customer education team. That's the baseline of this. So up at the left, top left, that's a report that's showing a difference between the accounts that have active learners of my product versus accounts that don't. This number here is a time to value, right? What's that first point after we got implementation done and the team is using the product? How can I show that our stuff worked and helped? And here you could see the average time to value without training, without customer education was like 135 days. Oh my God, days. Over on the right, 36. That's a month. Okay? It's a dramatic change. Now it would change for everybody and every organization depending on the complexity of your product, but this is a staggeringly important report. You put that in front of your sales team, your executive team, they're gonna go, whoa, okay, you need help. We need to get you a bigger team, right? Yeah, I hope so. Maybe a raise? Well, okay. All right, so over here, the next one is how can I influence sales? All right, sometimes we don't constantly think about that, particularly like right now I'm in a position where my team we're not charging for training or anything, but I want to help the sales team to enable and empower the customers coming in through them. So here's another chart where I can show when I closed an opportunity related to somebody going out and looking at some of the training material. That's pretty big too. And then finally down the bottom, that was my master report. I constantly, because Gainsight's all about CSMs, we had scores of CSMs, and they called me every day, many times a day, saying, "Hey, Dave, Jim, I don't think he's getting it. Is he in training or not? Has he done anything? Has he looked at anything?" I'm like, "Go look. You've got that bookmark, right? Go look at that report." And that report tells you everything: when they did the training, what they did, how many things and there was a couple or three different reports in different granular details. So all that information got into Gainsight, pretty painful at first, but point being, this was painful. I don't know if you've tried to do this kind of thing. This is painful. It takes a lot of time to roll up your data. We are blessed to have integrations. SkillJar and LearnDot, you guys have integrations with Salesforce, for example. But I want to see about how we can go further, because that's not the end of the journey. So let's go to the next slide here. Now, yeah, I work for Azuqua. Now, there's a reason why, and in fact, Azuqua saved my butt, right? Saved my bacon. I was trying to do those reports, and I was able to automate all my stuff completely. And in concert with an integration that I had, and with Azuqua itself, I was able to do some phenomenal things and take what took me 4 hours a week to zero, right? The reports and all that stuff was being produced automatically. Guess what? I used that time to go do more training, to develop stuff, to do instructor-led, to do on-demand. It really saved me a lot of time. So what I'm looking for here is liberating data. I think if you're like me, you're going to want to visualize your stuff. You get into Tableau, get into some BI platform, get into your data lake, data warehouse, whatever you want to do. You want to get your data from your LMS to other people too, not just you. You want to share that information so that others can see, yeah, I'm doing a good job, but not just that. There's a channel. We in customer education talk a lot about like how we aren't siloed. We got to work with other teams. We're scrappy. I'm a team of one right now. I've been up to a team of four before. It just depends on what you're doing and where you're at, what resources you have. You got to work smart. We got to be scrappy. So I could do all these things. I can automate a lot of my stuff, and I could not only build to those reports, I could start taking action on that data in interesting and novel ways. If I see a learner is having a problem, send an email or send a Slack to somebody, a Slack message to somebody on my customer success team who has that account and have them follow up. This we can do to liberate your data. So really, really fun. So again, the point here, what I want to tap in on is that I am not a developer. Yeah, I program Python, I've done SQL Server, whatever. I don't do that day to day. I forget about it. I needed something that helped me do that easily, quickly. And that's where I found iPaaS, Azuqua being one player in that space. So has anybody of you heard iPaaS before, or not like the highway system? Anybody know what that term means? Dude, did I have it written up there? All right, yeah, you got it. Integration platform as a service. And what does that mean? It means that So the same kind of integrations that we often have that help us move data into Salesforce or into HubSpot or to whatever kind of platform that we want, that's integration. P is a platform. Platforms, we keep all your stuff there, right? You have one place where we talk Game of Thrones, so let's talk Lord of the Rings now. One ring to rule them all, right? I've got a way to interconnect to many systems and get all that data to where it needs to go. So it's a platform serving up all that connectivity. And I can reach in and pull and push and do whatever I want to do. And then as a service, software as a service, this is just another one of the as a services. Okay, cool. So I have to thank one person at Gainsight, Marie Forshaw, that got me to this because I'd never even heard of that. Has anybody of you heard of Azuqua, for example? Couple of you? Okay. Have you played around with it before? No? Okay. Well, you're going to get the chance today. You're going to at least see the back end of it, and hopefully you'll get excited about it because that's why I'm here. All right, let's go to the next slide. Fun slide. Okay, so what I like to talk about here in this picture, what's going on here, imagine your ecosystem. So because we're in the SaaS-based economy now, we've got all these applications that are out in the cloud doing different stuff. Man, I'd sure like to talk to all of them and do stuff with them. And well, without some kind of a platform to help you do that, you're probably going to be spending a lot of time either asking your vendor to, hey, can I get a connector for this? And they're going to go look at you and go, well, that's going to cost $20,000. Nope. Nor do they want to spend the time, nor do I want to spend the time to do that or the money. I want something that makes it easy. So there's all these different things out there. And you can see, if you Google iPaaS, you're going to find a lot of them. I'll talk about some of them at different ends and where Azuqua falls into that and why I landed there. So you heard about Zapier, right? Zapier rhymes with happier. Love it. If this, then that, maybe. Right? Those are great point-to-point type things. I want to do one thing and I'll do it well. Zapier's got, oh my God, we live in concert with them. They're really good for doing those single point, hey, a new person signs up, creates an account in Salesforce, I want that to go into some other platform. Okay, cool, it does that. It does that in spades. So that's one end of it. And if this and that, they're more like consumer, user type stuff, fun stuff that you'd want to play with on your own time, but not necessarily good for enterprise, right? On the high end, you guys know MuleSoft or heard of them, Del Boomi. Those are the guys that are the ones that they're more IT-centric, right? If you go, and I don't know if anybody is here from MuleSoft, but I happen to work with a lot of them, there's a lot to learn. You actually really need to aspire to certification to be good because there's a lot at risk if you don't get things just right. And it's not necessarily easy to do. Now, of course, that's probably changed over time, but they are more IT driven, and that's the point. So in the middle, you have a number of different things. I think Workato is one, Tray.io, you probably heard about. Azuqua, we're one of the players in that market. And I don't want to make this too much of a sales pitch, and if you're interested in learning about it, I'll leave my cards out and you can ask me questions or come visit and play around because I have to say it's freaking fun. It's fun to see how I can make things and I can do it, right? It's not, I don't have to go to a developer and say, hey, can you make me this Python script that does it? Nope. All right, so let me move on a little bit. And if you have questions, go ahead, raise your hand because this is interactive. I think I've talked about everything I want. Yeah, and I've talked about my disclaimer, I work for Azuqua, sorry. But I worked there because it saved my bacon at Gainsight, and I really loved it. And then I actually did a webinar with them at one point, and I walked out of the room, they said, can you come work for us? I'm gonna give you a job offer tomorrow. Oh, wow, okay. All right, let's talk about some other stuff. So this slide, I'm sure you've slipped and fallen over data before, right? Things aren't working or connecting right, I can't do a join, whatever. Let me tell you why I think integrations alone, right? And we're talking a Salesforce type integration with your learning management system. They're awesome. I've used them prolifically, but you want to go a little bit further. And sometimes they don't solve all your problems. And what might be those problems? Well, for me, bad data. Nothing is going to stop somebody from going to my learning management system using a weird email address that's maybe they use Gmail, they don't use their corporate account, right? What I want them to show and express is their corporate account. All kinds of things can happen. I can have gaps in my data. I might have a learner in my LMS and not have them in Salesforce or HubSpot. Oh my God, have you ever had to do reconcile? Because then I'm taking this person, okay, I manually have to go and fill these gaps, and that's why that report took me forever to get to. So that's crazy. Bad data quality is a big point of contention for me. Let me see. So we've got a couple other things. You might have let's use the word ginormous, okay? really, really big amount of data. And when you have some integrations, like for example, in Salesforce, you get paid for transactions and data, or you have to pay for transactions and data. If you have a lot of it, more than you need, why are you porting all that in there? What do you need it for? Why not get to that point of that destination, just what you need, and normalize it in the right format? Speaking of normalized, what if you're trying to reconcile accounts to people that are in the system and make sure that you don't have gaps or data or missing information? You want to resolve all of these problems. That's why I say, and hopefully it's not too radical, that integrations that are stock aren't everything. You can benefit by having this platform as a service, integration platform as a service, to help you address those other kinds of problems, data integrity, cleanup. I want, like somebody wants another report and they're over here. So I want to send, here's another good case. I want to take, for partner enablement, I want to be able to coordinate with a project manager that's on site and give them an export of all the learning records of all their team members and help enable them. But maybe my platform can't handle that. I'm not going to show them Salesforce. So think about these. Let them stick in your head a little bit. And with that in mind, for some of you responded to the survey I sent out through the Customer Education Heroes Slack, I asked about like how many of you integrate with something like Salesforce? And most of you said, yeah, almost 90% said, yep, I do it. Okay, cool. That's a good thing. So it means we're thinking at least about the integration. But what do you want to do with that data, right? What is happening? Now, this is a picture of a deck that I share with my leadership at Gainsight. Since I love working with data so much, I started laying out a play for customer education that spanned pre-sales and marketing to onboarding, to adoption, to renewals, to dealing with traditional customer success problems that you have. So here you see a few of them, like a new customer. I want the new customer on board. I don't want to think about it. I just want it to happen. I might have a new training module that pops out. Well, if I know the person and I know I have this thing, maybe I'm doing a release or I'm adding some modules about release. Like, this is the latest release of our product, and here's this training. Now I can document that somebody's gone through it and they've gotten some lift. So the sky's the limit. You're looking at all kinds of different plays, helping to defer churn. Again, we talk a lot about customer success. This is customer success through customer education. But one of the things that I think is really good is not just data, not just reports, but also calls to action. What can I do for my learners and help them and nudge them and get them new content and such like that? Okay, so the next question I had asked was, do you have any automation in place to help your customer? Like, what are you doing with low test scores? Now, you can see the answer to this was predominantly no. Right? These are not the normal things you're doing. These are the other things that we're trying to do. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to demo some stuff today to show you how I play around with that kind of data and I can automate taking action upon it. For one is a learner in crisis, right? How do I see somebody, they're getting really low test scores, they're taking tests and quizzes and exam, and they're just coming up in the red all the time. Well, if I'm not looking at that daily, and I don't because I got a lot to do, I want to do something with that. So that's where we're trying to get to here. So let me go further. So again, in this poll I sent out, I tried to survey everybody to figure out what you're interested in doing. And on this and the next slide, I've teased out a couple things, and then I've made some demos that respond to those needs to show you a little bit more about like how I would approach a solution to that. And these kinds of problems are not ones that would be arguably not perfect for my vendor to address, right? Because it might be anything. Because I might want to do one thing and not another thing, and if they try to do that, it'd take them a lot of time and money. So we're going to do it ourselves, right? We're going to get crafty. Some of the things you want to do, automate that report. I'm not doing it. It's get done automatically. I have a report right now that gets generated and sent to my boss and the BI team every week at midnight on Thursday night, and it gets all my data in a nice file, and they're like, cool, I just take that into Tableau and I work with it. Good, done. I didn't do anything, it's just there and it's accurate because I tested the heck out of it. Other things you want to make your data actionable, I talked about this already and we're going to show you how to do that. And then, again, I've talked about this, providing data to the people that need it most. People that need it make decisions with that data. Isabel, I'll let you carry that topic a little bit further. Some of the things that people talked about, and I spent a decent amount of time in this first one. Somebody said, hey, I'd really like to have a choose your own adventure learning journey. How's that sound? Customized for an on-demand type regime. Somebody says, I know this, I know that, and I need to learn about this, this, and this. Well, we can do that. Next up, what if I've completed a couple training modules, and many systems do this automatically, what if it doesn't? You can serve up a link. Say, hey, I saw you did this one and this one, but you know what? Because you did those two, I have a little bit of business logic that says, you might want to go out and listen to this recording or do this module. So that's cool. And then finally, feedback, learning NPS, right? I know we have the business NPS, but I want to see that segment of the market. I want to learn about what you as a learner think about my work. Yeah, that's infuriating sometimes because you might say something that hurts my feelings, but I'm over that. I'm going to screw up. I'm making mistakes. And especially in customer education where we're small and growing, we need that information. So let's talk about a couple things. Now I'm going to open up Azuqua here and I'm going to show you some of the things that I've done with it. Definitely talk about onboarding, and maybe we'll onboard one of my employees live. I'm sure they'll get a kick out of that. I can do that. But onboarding is one of those big use cases here that I think is predominant in all of us, and it's really hard to do. And I will say that I haven't totally cracked that nut at Azuqua quite yet, because what I want to do is build an automated play, and I'm working towards that. Some of the things that I could show you, and if you want to see some of the other things that I've got after this, after we all talk, come see me and I'll show you. So we're going to talk about, let's go ahead and dump out of this and let's get into the product, and I'll show you what's going on. All right, just for full disclosure, let me open this up, maximize this guy. So right now, and Jesse and Linda, don't cry. This is my academy right now. Because I came to work for a really entry-level startup. They didn't have anything. We didn't have a learning management system. I went ahead and I just laid it all out, right? I got it done. Next step, going to talk to folks about that. But here I've got all my curriculum. If you click on one of these, you'll see I've got a video, I've got a workbook that people can do hands-on, I've got a quiz that you can take. Now on the back end, I've got this all connected in so that I can look and see what you've done. If you take the quiz, hey, I know, props to you. Good job, Jesse, you did that. You got the quiz. They're easy quizzes, but nonetheless, they're important. So that's what I'm starting with. That's my fake out LMS. I'm not really that proud of it, but it serves a point. So let me show you one of my, this is Azuqua. If you've never seen this before, first time you look at it, you're like, oh my God, what am I looking at here? Well, notice this isn't code, right? That would scare the heck out of you, right? It scares the heck out of me. You start looking at that and like, how do I build a connector? I'm not going to do that. What Azuqua does is it allows you very easily to say, oh, I've got a Gmail account. Good, type in my username, password, done. Okay, that's a connection. I want to talk to Slack. Here's my account information. Got a Slack account in there. Good. And then here's my LMS. Great. Add that information in there. Like you use OAuth or whatever. Then Salesforce. Add that, configure that. I've got all these things connected across my entire company. All the tools that I use and other people use, more importantly, are already there. So that's what this platform does. What you're seeing right here is a welcome message. Okay, so what we've got here is a flow that's an onboarding flow. I have a simple form. Now I can drop this form on a page. Now if I go to test this, it would just ask me for an email address. Dave@azuqua.com would be my email address. I enter that in there, and I'm not going to do this live, but it will start to run, and what it's going to do is various different steps. So let's I don't want to bore you. I'll just show you the highlights of this. At the top, what it does is it goes and looks up in Google Sheets, right? I've got a connector for Google, all the connectors for Google. I can look in Google Sheet and say, oh, is this person there? Great. If they're there, actually what I aspire to next is we use Zenefits. We have a Zenefits connector, and if somebody goes and creates a new person in Zenefits, guess what? I can see that, and I can take action upon that and drive everybody into an onboarding flow internally. If I have customers, if I add them in a HubSpot or Salesforce, guess what? I can see a new person has been added, and I can create a flow and welcome that customer, right? I can do all this stuff regardless of the system, and that's super cool. So what happens here is I look up a lot of gobbledygook, but at the end of the day, what I end up getting, and I'll just slide them forward. Look, you can see that I'm talking to Google Sheets, I'm talking to Gmail, sometimes I'm talking to Slack. I'm basically translating, getting everything together, and I send you an email. Right? And I say, hey, Jim, Judy, Joe, here's a customized training just for you. If I have one customer that's like just an on-demand only, I can take them to those resources. If I have another customer that gets an ILT package, I can send that. I can fork and branch and do everything I want to do all on the fly. And this is not hard. I mean, what you're doing is you're adding cards. Add Google card, configure it. Add another card, configure it. Done. Now, if you're curious about that, this one isn't interactive as much as I'd like it to be, but it's super cool, and it took me hour or so to pull this together, test it, and have it running. That's significant, and I did it. All right, so that's one of them. So let's talk about, go back to my slide here. So that would be like an onboarding flow. Now, for reporting, I have another flow that I like. And guys, tell me if I'm like going over on time, because I'll just burn through this. This one you can't see too terribly well, and let me zoomify it. This is just a representative picture of my training data, the videos. So I have a library, I use Wistia. Wistia has a connector. Actually, I built the connector, which that was fun. But what I have is I wanted to see how my videos, my training videos were performing external to my system. So what I was able to do is talk to Wistia and say, get me my library. Cool, got that in the table. Then tell me every week. One of the problems with Wistia is that they only give me stats in the moment, in one point of time, now, whenever I ask for them. Well, that's not cool. What happened last week? What happened the week before? So what I did is I architected a whole series of flows that goes out, grabs that information, puts it in play, and then sends my boss and me a weekly report with week over week averages. Where is everybody at? What are the best performing pieces of content? And again, this is another system. Like a lot of learning management systems have videos that get dropped in from another system. This could be an add-on to that to give you that data, because Wistia won't give you what you really need as a customer education person. You can't see week over week. So that one's really cool. And if I were to go into the product here, I think I'll bore you on this one, but so I'll skip all the details. If you want to see the details, the cool thing about this is anything that you build in here, you can package it up and share it. So somebody else, another friend of yours, has a similar environment to you. They have Salesforce, they have LearnDot, they have SkillJar or whatever. You can share that with them and help them to speed up. We're about finding the others around here and networking and helping each other out. So that's super cool. All right, let's get to something you can do. Now this one I think is fun. So you'll see a URL here. It's bit.ly/CLab, all one word, -adventure. If you got your mobile phone, type that in. And I'll give you just a minute here to play with that. Put in your email, select a couple of things. I tried to put more in there, it's going to take a while. So there's only 3 options. Pick a couple things on it and click submit. So what you should get after you do that is you're going to get an email back. And it's going to have links that go straight out to our educational material. And this is a customized thing. So let me go ahead. I think I had done it before. Nope. All right, I'll do it too. Okay, so I'm just going to click a couple things in here, and I'm going to type in my email. I'm going to hit submit. And again, while you're on there, notice that you're on the CLab website. That's where Adam and I have a podcast. It's a lot of fun. So this is just a work in progress. I put this up in minutes. I didn't spend a lot of time doing this. And now at the end of that, when I'm done with it, you will see that you'll get an email. And here it is. It just says, your adventures, now again, not formatted. I did this on the fly just this afternoon. I just whipped this together. And you can see if I were to click on any one of these, that will take me to the page in my academy. And there it is, right? Simple, easy, to the point. That's a customized learning journey, which I think is kind of cool, because that's like the holy grail is. And I want to be able to have customers, and this is my stand. I do like to get to certification. I do like people to go through tracks. But when somebody's just getting onboarded for the first time, or somebody's been using the product and they've got a new employee, and outside of onboarding, maybe you want to learn certain things. Well, I don't want to burden you. I want to give you what you need just in time, right in the moment, and this is the way to do that. I can embed that in my product. What you saw for that form, that's an embed. You can put it anywhere. That's super cool. So if you have a web page somewhere else, podcast, whatever, you can embed that. Any questions about that? Did any of you get the emails back? Yeah? Cool? All right. Let me go over one more. This is representative. This is a learner in trouble. Okay? How many of you have had to experience and de-escalate a situation where you had maybe contracted to, or put in a contract to have learning delivered, and then somebody is just really struggling? And one of my favorite stories that I like to tell about my tenure at Gainsight was that I had one of my CSM team come up to me frantically one day, and he said, "Dave, we have this person at big company X. Okay, I'll be creative there, and the executives are pissed. They're pissed at you." I go, "Oh, okay. What did I do?" "Well, they're saying that we didn't fulfill our obligation to training." "Okay. What happened?" And I showed him that report before, and I said, "This individual, you're not seeing this individual because they never took training." Right? Those are one of the things, or there was like one module. So I could look at places where maybe somebody didn't take training and they need to take training, or even better yet, are they struggling? Are they having problems? Are they getting consistently low scores on quizzes that I might offer? Are they not doing the other things that I would expect them to do? So an example of this, so I built this little, we call them a flow, FLO, like progressive. Here, what I'm doing is I'm looking for an individual, and I'm actually looking at and this isn't fancy, I did this just a few minutes ago just to prove a point. So if I run this one, and this is not going to look fancy or anything, it's going to look at all of my training records, all of them, and it's going to return the ones that are low scores under whatever I set. I set like lower than 70% on a quiz. Most of us should do better than that. And then at the end of that, what comes out of it is a report that says, I've got all these learners that are getting consistently low scores. And hopefully this one executes. Here, I got a better way to do it. Cool thing about this is I can look at my history. I love this feature of the product. When you're like trying to do things and learn things, you could look at any execution of it and look at all the data that's flowing through the system as it goes, which is super cool because then you can figure out, well, when you screwed up, but if there's a particular problem, you can see it down at the quantified level. This one gets a little bit more tricky in the back end, but what you'll see here, and you can't see this too terribly well, it returns me a list of learners and an object, and how many modules that did they have that they didn't do so well in. Some of these are ones, but then you can see, hey, this person here had 6, this person here had 5. Those are low scores. And then what I could do with that is my next step would be, hey, I'm going to go to Slack and I'm going to send the account manager or the customer success manager a note to say, you should probably check in on this person. And I'm going to write a report to say, these are the people with consistently low scores. And then I'm going to follow up on them. So you're not diversifying, you're spreading out into your company, you're learning information and helping them take action on it. Particularly customer success managers really want to see this kind of information because this helps them to be proactive, which is the goal of avoiding churn. If you've got somebody that's not looking at the training or they're looking at it and they're struggling with it, what's the problem? We want to help them out. So again, that's not a fully baked out solution, but again, I tried to whip some representative ones of things that people asked of me and how you can put them together. And again, these took maybe an hour or so at the end for some of the bigger ones, and the smaller ones, not so long, minutes. And then you can start asking questions and getting data so Isabel over here can start processing and saying, I need to make decisions on this, and how do we do that? Okay? Any questions about that so far? Am I losing you? You're awake, right? All right. So let's start wrapping it up. And again, I'd love to field some questions, like learn what you're doing with data, what kind of struggles that you're having with your data, where you want to take it to. Azuqua sounds like a goofy name, right? I love the name. It sounds like kind of a zoo. It comes from Azure and Aqua because we're in a nice, beautiful office in Seattle, and the Elliott Bay is out there. And somebody said, "Oh, well, let's name the company. It's the sky up here, and whatever." So we got a funny name. We love it. We embrace it. We're not changing it now. We're there to help you eliminate the manual, time-intensive tasks, provide automation, and use the tools you have, right? This is why I went to work for them and why it's novel for me as a customer educator to, now I have to teach with this, but now I'm very meta. So I'll build stuff and I'll show stuff in my coursework that you can immediately turn around and use. Just, okay, I trained you on that, but you've got a piece of work that you can take and you can use for your own learning data. So it's kind of cool. So we're here to help you automate things, help you reconcile your data and get things where they need to go so that other people can benefit from that, particularly you. Because I don't like spending a lot of my time doing hard, tedious tasks. All right, so that's it, okay? It's a good time for Q&A. If you want to find more about this, you can check out our Azuqua stuff. I do have to espouse our customer education C-Lab podcast. That's customer.education. That's a great domain. Released episode 7 today? So go check it out. Lots of good stuff on there. It's helping you find the others. And if you want to contact me, there's my information. We'll put this up. We're going to record this and have it available later. But if you want a copy of the deck, just let me know. And if you want to talk to me more about this, I'm here to chat with you and learn about what your needs are. And that's it. Any questions?
Hello. My question is, since this is a brand new customer education program that you're creating for Azuqua, what has been your single biggest challenge in creating this I know you're in the middle of it right now, but what's been your single biggest challenge?
We're related to what specifically? The content or the data or?
Getting the whole thing mounted. I would say content or data, probably valid.
Content, I've done this for a while, and content's content. Elicitation, get my subject matter experts in the room, do all that. So I've been less concerned with that. But for me, I'll be transparent. One of my biggest challenges at Azuqua is that I'm right now a one-person customer education team. So it drives home the need when I look at these problems and someone says, Dave, I need this information. I'm like, oh, okay. So then I spend the time to get them that. And every time I'm asked for something like that, I know it's probably going to be more than one time. So I try to build something that's reusable, modular. And in fact, some of the stuff that I already built, I was able to use that today to show you this, and it saved me a bunch of time. So you start building stuff. I will still say that getting data together about stuff, particularly now, I don't have a learning management system. I'm going to change that. But I basically built my own. I'm not necessarily proud of that fact, but it was a really good test to see what you can do. So working with data, yeah, data is hard. People are asking me all the time, well, how many people at this count have this? How many people here are doing this? All right, thank you. All right, thanks everybody.